What's up everybody, welcome to the video. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Now I am very excited to have this right here next to me. This is the 2025 Volvo XC90, the fully loaded T8 Ultra plug-in hybrid. I did get to test this one out recently for about 30 minutes, but now I've gotten to spend an entire week with the XC90. Driving around in this thing has me feeling like a mom from Montclair taking her kids to lacrosse practice, and I'm loving every single minute of it. I have been thoroughly impressed by this XC90, so I'm going to be talking about my week with it, and we are going to be doing a walk around and test drive in this video, so stay tuned. So as always, we're going to start this review here underneath the hood. What we have here is a 2-liter 4-cylinder engine with a turbo paired with electric motors. Puts out 455 horsepower, 523 pound-feet of torque, and that is paired with an 8-speed automatic transmission. 0 to 60, 5 seconds flat. Something really interesting with this engine cover, you can see it's like totally soft and spongy, and we do have kind of a soft material used on the hood as well. That's supposed to help with like pedestrian impact, so in case you do hit someone, it I guess lessens the blow and leads to less injury. This could do 32 miles of pure electric range. MPG equivalent is 58 miles per gallon for electric, and on gas only this gets a combined 27 miles per gallon. Also, look how high up the hood goes. That's kind of crazy. But yeah, you can certainly access whatever it is that you need in there. And of course, since it is a luxury car, we do get the hydraulic hood struts. As you can see, they work quite well. All right, now let's check out the front end of the updated 2025 Volvo XC90. So we have this new grille here up front that I think looks beautiful. I really like this intersecting design, and I think that the grille was the one thing on the XC90 that was kind of aging it. The XC90 has had the same design for roughly a decade now, with just a few refreshes on the front and rear and some new wheel options, but that's really about it. For most cars, you would say that's absolutely ridiculous, 10 years with one design. What the hell are they thinking? But I think this is the exception. When this car came out in 2015, it looked incredibly ahead of its time. It was a very timeless design, so I think even after 10 years, it has aged very gracefully and looks like it's still on par with the competition, that's new. I definitely say, its days are limited now. They're gonna have to come out with something new soon, but I think the changes they made on the front end are perfect. The front end definitely looks 2025 and not 2015, but the rest of the car hasn't really changed a whole lot. So we have all this beautiful chrome, looks very high end. Sometimes chrome can look tacky, but on here, it just looks right. And you can see that grille is fully functional. You can see the intake behind it. We have another opening here down below and more chrome trim. We have this vertical chrome trim right here. Now, that's not a real vent. It looks like it's supposed to be, but it is not, so not sure why they went with that. But you do have chrome and some gloss black around it, so it's still, high-end touches. We've got some parking sensors down there at the bottom, your forward-facing camera integrated right there into the Volvo logo. And here we have the Matrix-style LED headlights. So we have a beam down below. They're both projector beams, a beam down below, and it looks like a split beam up top. Then you have your Thor's Hammer LED daytime running light and turn signal intersecting right there through the middle. These were updated for 2025, and they just look a lot sharper and a lot more modern. And now turning to the side, this is where the silhouette kind of starts to show its age, because this hasn't really changed in 10 years. Most of the competitors in the segment have grown in size over the last 10 years, and this one hasn't, but it's still a very attractive looking car. So like the front, we have the chrome touches here on the side going all along the window trim, and we have a flat silver low profile roof rail up top, and then a tasteful chrome trim down there at the bottom. This color is called mulberry red. It's kind of like a maroon, kind of like a burgundy. It kind of looks different depending on the angle the sun is hitting it. In some angles it looks black, some it looks more maroon, and some angles it looks like a darker purple. Right now in this lighting, it's kind of like an eggplant color. Probably not the color I would personally choose, but it's not offensive. So right here we have power folding mirrors with LED turn signal indicators. One thing surprisingly we don't have is soft closed doors. It just closes normal. Right here we have the charge port. I do like that the B-pillar and C-pillar are gloss black, so it kind of blends nicely with the windows. Now let's take a look here at the wheel and tire setup. This is a 21-inch two-tone wheel, so machined aluminum alloy with gloss black. This is riding on Pirelli Scorpion Verde all-season tires, and the size is 275/40. And now turning to the rear, this also hasn't changed in 10 years. They did change the inside of the actual housing just a little bit. As you can see, we have the LED taillight and we have the turn signal. All these little mini LEDs you can see in there, those look pretty sharp, and then your reverse light is right there. The housing's been darkened a little bit. You can see that like along the edges, but aside from that, very little changes in the last 10 years. Now, the one thing I don't love about this rear end is this giant wiper that sticks out. I mean, it looks comically big. I realize there's no space to tuck it under there. I do think they could have at least reworked the tailgate after 10 years, you know, to just make that smaller and stick it up there and out of the way. Got Volvo spelled across the back, XC90, that hasn't changed. You have your T8 all-wheel drive and plug-in hybrid badge there. Another piece of tasteful chrome along the bottom, but this is all paint matched at the very bottom. You can see the sensors there. This is a plug-in hybrid, so we don't have any exposed exhaust. Now let's head back into the cargo area. Tailgate goes up relatively quick. All right, so let's see what we got back here. So off to the left side, we do have a little, let's see, that's a hook. You can hang some stuff. Little cutout right there. Now on this side, you see these two buttons here. These are for the air suspension. So you can lower or raise the suspension, so it's easier to load stuff in if you wish. We do have a 12-volt outlet there, another hook. One thing I am surprised to see we don't have is electronic controls to drop the second and third row seats. You do have to do them manually. So here on the third row, you just pull the lever up. You see the headrest goes down. Let's try this side. And that goes all the way down. So here behind the third row, we have roughly 11.2 cubic feet of storage. I saw some different numbers on different sites, but they're all kind of close to each other. So roughly 11.2 here. Once you fold down the second row seat, it then goes up to 34.1. And then once you fold down all of the seats, you now have 64.1 cubic feet of storage. And yes, this does have a hands-free feature. So now we are inside the 2025 Volvo XC90, and I think that maybe I can provide a slightly different perspective on the interior versus other car reviewers. And the reason I say that is because this is the first time I've spent any real time with a Volvo. I did get to test drive this car about 2 months ago, but I only spent maybe about 25 minutes with the car. And before that, never even drove any Volvos before. So similar to the exterior that hasn't had really a real redesign in 10 years, I come to learn that it's the same story on the interior with the exception of basically just the infotainment screen. But I actually didn't know that until after I had spent some time with the car. So while this is for all intents and purposes a 10-year-old design that you would say, you know, a design from 2015 and 2025 has to feel ancient, right? So I have to say, for my first impression of the interior, that's not the idea that I got. So just like how I said that 10 years ago they almost made like the perfect car on the exterior, somehow they did it again for the interior. This looks like a very upscale, luxurious, minimalist interior, but definitely not outdated. The two things that I think age the interior of a car the most is the way the screen looks and the way the steering wheel looks. But the steering wheel hasn't changed in 10 years, and to me it's still a very modern looking wheel. So I'm kind of having a hard time understanding, like, how did they pull this off? All right, so now with all of that out of the way, let's go over all the material quality. So we have stitched leather on the dashboard. They call it their custom tailored dashboard, but we have this nice white contrast stitching on the edges, really nice and soft going all the way across. You don't see too many actual real leather dashboards these days. It's either a leatherette or just like a soft touch plastic. Now staying on the dash, dropping down, we do have a tan colored fabric right here that pretty much is the same color as the seat. I feel like it's got maybe a little bit more brown in it, but it still matches. And then we have this really nice open pore wood matte finish. I really don't like shiny finish wood, but this one looks and feels really nice. And now taking a look here at the door panel, the same stitched leather at the top, the same wood trim, and then dropping down, we have the Napa leather on the armrest and this middle part here, very soft on both. We have real metal here on this door handle. It's a really thick, robust feeling door handle. Automatic up down for all 4 windows, and just the way the windows go down, when you go to drop the window, you put your finger on the button, you can see it just comes down very slowly and smoothly, very luxuriously. It doesn't make that loud popping sound that most regular cars make when you drop the window down. And I love what they did with the design, with the speaker grille. This is the Bowers and Wilkins audio system. This is an optional 19 speaker system that costs an extra $3,200. So we got a nice speaker grille here, another one down here, and then dropping down to the lower part, it's kind of interesting here because this whole section from here all the way to down here, this is all a soft touch plastic, not hard plastic, but then just this one piece here at the very bottom, that is hard plastic. I don't understand why they couldn't just carry this over, but yeah, so that's one of the few places, I guess, that feel a little cheap in this interior. We do have an aluminum door sill that does illuminate at night. I do have a nighttime video that I've already posted, so you might want to check that out. That'll be linked on the screen at the end of the video. Now let's take a look here at the seats. With this being the Ultra, we get the premium Nappa leather seats. Volvo has always made a very attractive looking seat, and with this one being Nappa leather, they're incredibly comfortable. Some of the most comfortable seats probably I've ever even sat in. And the thing that's interesting about it is when you look at it from the side, it looks like a very thin seat, but it's still incredibly comfortable, and even the headrest too. But as you can see, super soft all around. So we have a fully perforated seating surface. The front seats are both heated and ventilated, and this XC90 is equipped with the lounge package. So what that gives you is massaging seats and also the suede headliner up above. So that suede headliner starts here all the way on the pillar and goes all the way up and all the way to the back. And as you can see, we do have a power extendable thigh support. Okay, so now we're on the screen. If I hit the button on the seat, it'll bring up the seat controls. So we have massage, and then your other seat controls are here. You have your power bolsters, you have lumbar, and then your power extendable thigh support, so you can control all of that right from here. So when it comes to the massage, there's 5 different programs to choose from, 3 intensities and 3 speeds. So I always gotta max out the intensity and the speed, and it'll show you there which areas each program covers. So you have wave, tread, combined, lower back, and shoulders. I usually like to keep it on lower back. So that's for both front seats. There's no massaging seats in the back, but both front seats do get the massager. But again, that is with that lounge package, and that costs $1,700. So here just above the wheel, we have a 12.3-inch fully digital gauge cluster, and I can tell you for sure, this does not look dated whatsoever. This looks new and very modern. Since this car has Google built in, we get Google Maps right there on the gauge display right in the middle, and I love being able to have the map on one screen and then like my music up on the other. But aside from this, when I toggle through the controls here on the steering wheel, it looks like I can only have it either show the map or go blank. And then you have your speedometer off to the left side, you have the digital one, and then you have, you know, an analog style one going around it. And then when you hit this button here in the middle, that brings up your trip computer. But aside from that, I can't really get it to show anything else. I don't know if that's just on me, and I don't know how to use it. And then we also have a head-up display as well. My only gripe with the wheel in a car that costs as much as this is that it is a manual tilting and telescoping. Okay, that should definitely be a power tilting and telescoping wheel for this price. Okay, and now my other gripe with the car, aside from the manual steering wheel, is gonna be the infotainment. So this is an 11.2-inch infotainment touchscreen. Now there's nothing wrong with the size of it. I don't think it's too small. I think it's sized appropriately. I just don't love the upright orientation, and that's mainly because of the way Apple CarPlay looks. As you can see, you know, CarPlay, it doesn't take up the entire length of the screen. The shape of it is basically like in a square. And to me, I just don't love the look of that. You know, I'm used to CarPlay being on a wide screen. I feel like the screen being in this orientation uses up some of the real estate that could be used for it. And my other issue with the CarPlay is, well, as you can see, my phone's plugged in, and the reason for that is because there is no wireless Apple CarPlay. It can only be used with a wire. So maybe that's one of those things in here that's kind of making the interior show its age. Now, this is a new screen because the old screen was smaller and it was more integrated into the dash, where this kind of just looks like an afterthought, like stuck on iPad. So yeah, just in general, not a huge fan of just the style and the layout of the screen. And then you also have a lot of things that you use a lot that you have to go into the screen for, like the AC, for example. So if we go here into AC, it's very customizable. You know, the fan speed and stuff is all there. Let's put that down. You have your zones here and defrosters and all that stuff. And then also your heated and ventilated seats you have to go down here for, and your heated steering wheel, forgot to mention that. But all of that stuff you have to go here into the screen for, you know, like while you're driving. So as I mentioned before, this system does have Google built in, Google Assistant built right in. It's right there on the home screen. And if we go into the apps, you can see this has Sirius XM. We even have YouTube. As you can see, YouTube works pretty well. We can watch Optical Automotive, Volvo XC90 test drive. But this video you're watching right now is better than this one, so you're in the right place. But I love the YouTube integrated right there on the screen. Also, the built-in user manual, that's very helpful. You can just search for whatever it is you're looking for, and it'll just come right up. And you can see right here, it says camera. So when we hit that, we have a very good camera system here in this XC90. So we have our front view, our split view from the side, we have our 360 and our 360 with the backup. So we got the sides, our left side and the right. So the resolution is pretty good. Not as good a camera system as some other brands like BMW or Genesis, but I think it's suitable. So as I mentioned before, we have the Bowers & Wilkins audio system, 19 speakers, $3,200 option. So now let's listen. Without beating around the bush, I'm just gonna say it. This is the best audio system that I've ever listened to in any car. This is by far the best, and honestly, it's not even close. Okay, the power and the clarity. I've never listened to anything that I could put the volume up so high and it still retain all of its sound quality in all bass, mid, and treble without the bass clipping, without any distortion. Like, I am thoroughly impressed. So now looking at the rest of the interior, the only physical buttons that we have for the system here are just right here. We have our hazards, and for the AC, you know, just the shortcuts for the defrosters, that's all that's there. Everything else has to be done in the screen. We have a pause play button, and there's your volume knob. Fast forward, rewind, and then here is actually your glove box. Now the glove box comes down, it's damped, it's lined with felt, very nice. We've got a little shelf up there. Pretty good size glove box. Also, the material on the outside, this is soft touch plastic. Why they couldn't put that down here, I don't know. So up here at the very front, we have a wireless charger, which you've probably heard me say before, without wireless CarPlay is kind of redundant unless you have just a second device you're not using that you would put there. But if you're already plugging it in to use the CarPlay, well, I don't need that and that. You know, here on this Ultra, we have this beautiful crystal glass shifter. You can see right through it there. Works pretty simple. All the way back for drive, forward for reverse. If you put it into drive twice, it goes into battery mode, B, as you see there. That puts it basically in like regenerative braking mode, and you can kind of use it as one pedal driving, but it's more so just for the regenerative braking. Start stop button right here, it's actually a dial. You don't push it, you twist it. More wood trim right here. You can see we have our cup holders. We do have some soft padding here on the side. This color is called cardamom, by the way. I don't think I mentioned that earlier. Inside the center console, 2 USB-C ports and a 12 volt. As you can see, it doesn't go very far down, but rear wheel drive architectures are like that. Even though this one is all-wheel drive, it's based off of a rear wheel drive system. I almost forgot to mention the little Swedish flag here on the seat because, you know, very important. Also up above here on the handle and on the visor, these are wrapped in leather with actual stitching. You can see the stitching there, and here on the grab handle you can see the stitching, but it's a nice soft leather. And for both front seats, we have 3 memory settings for both the driver and the passenger. Up above here we have a nice large panoramic moonroof, and I'm a big fan of the controls for them. So we don't just have like a traditional button, you just have this space here that you just swipe your finger. So we have the shade back, so if I want to now open the glass, just swipe back, there it goes. To close it, swipe forward. Now, one thing I am surprised not to see at this price point, there is no digital rear view mirror. All right, so now heading into the back seat, as you can see, we have captain's chairs. So this one is configured with 6 seats. You can configure it with 7. Now I'm behind the driver's seat, adjusted for myself at 6 feet tall. These 2 captain's chairs, they can slide forward and back, and they can recline. So they do have a manual bar here that you pull. Okay, so with the seat all the way forward, yeah, I'm right on it. But now all the way back, not a crazy amount of room, but enough. So that's about maybe 3 inches of legroom to spare. The back of the front seat is like a soft touch plastic, which is nice, but I'm not a fan of the fishnet style pockets. As you can see, these captain's chairs have armrests, and they have these really cool built-in cup holders that slide right out. That's just like good, cool engineering, you know? Down here in the center, we have a control center for the AC. Also the 2 heated seats for the captain's chairs. So we have a little display here. We can lock it and unlock it. We can control the temperature, dual zone temperature for both sides, and the fan speed. You get 2 air vents, but we also get air vents here in the pillar. So in addition to the cup holders there in the seat, we have 2 more cup holders down here, and we have 2 USB-C ports down below there. And here on the door panel, you can see we have retractable sunshades, manual, not power. The same leather here at the top, the wood, and the cardamom Napa leather here on the armrest and on the side. The metallic door handle, the metallic speaker grille, the soft touch at the bottom. So everything in the back does match up in the front. They didn't cheap out with any of the materials in the back, so that is good to see. And now to get back into the 3rd row, I'm gonna pull this lever right here, slide that forward, so that gives you a good amount of space to step in and get in. So now I am in the 3rd row. This seat is all the way back. So as you can see, my knee is touching, but I'm still in like my natural seating position. I'm not like, you know, being forced back. So it's just enough room. Is it ideal? No. But is it doable? Yes. Most people would only put kids back here anyway, but if you did need to put full-sized adults back here, you could get away with it. As far as amenities, we still have that suede headliner there that goes into the 3rd row. We do get more air vents in the pillars, but we do get a storage pocket inside, and we do get a cup holder. Now the cup holder is pretty small, I have to say. We also have some lighting here in the 3rd row, but surprisingly, I'm not seeing any kind of outlets back here on either side. So no USB. We have those 2 USB-Cs there in the 2nd row, but as far as, you know, backseat connectivity, that's really it. So I think that's a bit of a bummer. I would definitely expect some 3rd row connectivity. All right, so now I'm behind the wheel of the 2025 XC90. So I would say the best part of this ride, hands down, has to be that air suspension. So it is a $1,800 option, but I think it is totally worth it. This is by far the smoothest riding car I've ever driven. The suspension on this, I mean, this is just like floating on a cloud. I mean, Volvo has done an amazing job with this suspension. You know, lately I haven't found myself really taking press cars out on joyrides beyond, you know, just normal use and normal testing, but this is the exception. I've been taking some nice long joyrides in this XC90. It's very comfortable. It's a very serene environment to be in. It's nice and quiet. The build quality is just stellar. And I think the ride quality is also a great feat for Volvo because we are riding on 21-inch wheels, and the tires have a 40 series sidewall, so not exactly low profile, but not exactly thick either. All right, so we are in a plug-in hybrid, so let's talk about range and fuel economy numbers. So the XC90 plug-in hybrid gives you 32 miles of pure electric range, and as you can see, I'm down to 0. When the car was dropped off to me, it had about 30, so pretty much a full charge. And the day that I got it, I only did some light city driving for like a couple hours, and I did not have it in pure mode. It was just in the normal hybrid drive mode, and that range went all the way down to 0 by the end of the day. Like, it really didn't do much for me, like, whatsoever. It'll still work as like a normal hybrid system once that range goes down all the way to 0. But in terms of, you know, the pure electric range and taking the time to actually charge it, which this does not have DC fast charging, it doesn't even have a like a CCS style connector. This only gives you 32 miles of range, and the charge time for this on a level 2 charger is about 5 hours, which to me only makes sense if you have a level 2 charger installed at your house and you just plug it in at night. But to sit at a charging station for 5 hours to get 32 miles of range, that makes zero sense whatsoever. But with that said, even still, with the full EV part set aside, fuel economy has been great. The range on this is very good. 530 miles if you have the battery charged and the gas tank full. I think that's very good. But you are paying for that, of course, because the gas tank is 18.8 gallons, almost 19 gallons, and it takes only premium fuel. So thankfully, I've never had to take this to the gas station, but you can imagine it'll be pricey. So the MPG equivalent on fully electric is 58 miles per gallon, and combined MPGs on gas only is 27, which for a 3-row SUV isn't terrible. Next, let's talk powertrain. We have a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder that is paired with electric motors. Combined, that puts out 455 horsepower and 523 pound-feet of torque, and that's paired with an 8-speed automatic transmission. And this also has an all-wheel drive system, so that means the wheels in the back are powered by the electric motor independently to the front electric motor and engine that operate the front wheels. And now going into the acceleration test, I've put the drive mode into power. That's going to give you the best power output. 0 to 60 on this is rated at 5 seconds flat. It's very quick, it's very torquey, and shockingly sporty. Okay, so I'm gonna come to a stop up here. We are going slightly uphill, so we'll keep that in mind. And not gonna brake torque it, just gonna go. Okay. You can feel that instant power delivery, and you can see the way the car just gets into stance, just ready to pounce. Back goes down, front comes up. The transmission feels very refined. It shifts very smoothly. It is actually a fun vehicle to drive. And yes, this is meant to be a luxurious, upscale model suitable for families, but you can definitely still have some fun in it. And the interior is still very quiet. The engine noise is not overbearing by any means. Alright, so now we are going to take this out on the highway. See how it does. Yeah, that pickup, especially once it's up to speed already, is amazing. That rattling you hear in the back is my tripod. That is not the car, so I'm sorry about that. So it is a little bit louder on the highway than it is just on regular back roads, but you can still have a conversation with your passengers without having to yell. And being in this thing out on the highway, it just gives you confidence because it's one of the safest vehicles out on the road today. Volvos always do incredibly well in crash tests, and Volvo was actually the first company that implemented 3-point seatbelts into their vehicles, and that helped lead to the 3-point seatbelt being government mandated in every vehicle. Power feels great, really doesn't leave anything to be desired. I was expecting it to be maybe just a little bit quieter, but I wouldn't call it loud though. Alright, so now we're going to test out the adaptive cruise control system. Those controls are all located here on the left side of the steering wheel. This little button here that shows a little speedometer, that's the button you use to set the speed. So I hit that, it sets the speed. Now it sets it to whatever speed you're currently going. So it's set at 57. It is giving me the warning now to hold the wheel. Did a good job with braking as we got closer to that car there. We can adjust the distance using the up and down switch right here. Okay, giving the warning again to put your hands on the wheel, so this can steer for you using the pilot assist. I think you can see there on the gauge display, it shows the steering wheel icon. Now if you press to the right, I think now the lane keep assist goes off. You have to steer yourself. And then when you hit back to the right, the steering wheel pops up again, so you can choose if you want to steer or not. So you put my foot back. When you put your foot on the brake, it cancels it completely, and then you have to restart it. So you use the up and down here to adjust the speed. Now, if you press it just one time, it goes up in increments of 5, but if you press and hold it, then it'll slowly go up one by one instead. But it seems to be doing a pretty good job. I'm drifting a little bit. We didn't get all the way to the edge, but wasn't quite in the center there. And I like how it doesn't accelerate too aggressively once an opening comes up. Now over here, you got to be careful where the lanes split like that. So I think that's a pretty solid cruise control system. All right, so now we are out here at the back roads to test out the steering and the handling of the XC90. As you can see here, I have the drive mode screen up. Now when it comes to the steering, you can see here under steering feel, we have soft and firm. I've had it on firm the entire week that I've had the car. I have to say, it's really not all that firm. Like, it's a good weight, I think it's balanced, but it feels like it's kind of right in the middle. And then soft just feels ridiculously soft, kind of all over the place. But in firm, it's good, no issues. I like it to be just a slight bit heavier. That's just my personal preference, but the steering does have very good feel. It's very responsive. And as far as handling on some of these tighter turns, you can feel a little bit of body roll. That's to be expected, I think, from a 3-row SUV. Let's take this turn here. Takes the turns really well though. I mean, I think this vehicle handles pretty well for its size. I don't think the dynamics of the steering are quite as sporty as the acceleration, but that's okay. That's not really what this car is supposed to be. See, I have it in sport mode. Let's check the steering. Pretty quick. And braking. Brakes feel really good. This also has a regenerative braking mode, so if you put the shifter, it's already in drive, but if you put it in drive again, you can see here on the gauge cluster, it changes from D to B, which is battery. So that turns this into a regenerative braking type situation like you would get in a typical EV. I'm just not really a big fan of one pedal driving, but I do test it out, you know, for the sake of the video. I think the one pedal, it works fine in low speed settings like this, but I don't know if I'd necessarily trust it out on the highway. And I depleted the 32 miles of range on the battery a good while ago, so during my use, you know, using the regenerative braking, I haven't gotten any miles back, so I can't really attest to how productive the one pedal driving and the regenerative braking is. Maybe long term the miles can add up, but in the week that I've been driving it, I haven't really seen any benefit from using it. The MSRP of this 2025 Volvo XC90 T8 Ultra plug-in hybrid with all its options is $88,695. Now that is a lot of money, but to me, I think this is a pretty enticing package. So a huge thank you to Volvo for sending me my first press car, even though I did get to test this out for a little bit at an event. I've really enjoyed the opportunity to spend a full week with it, and honestly, I'm really upset that I have to give this back tomorrow, but hopefully they'll send me some other vehicles to keep and test out. If you enjoyed this video, please share with a friend and subscribe. It'll really help the channel grow. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss any new videos, and be sure to follow @Optical Automotive on TikTok and Instagram, and check out the page on Facebook. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you later.